Trigger warning. The following material may cause discomfort. Viewer discretion is advised. What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Cervantes Podcast. Joining me today to discuss toxic Greek life, her personal experience, and the recent documentary Bama Rush that centers on women that rush the sorority system at the University of Alabama is intern at 28 Row Creators, Hofstra University alumna, and digital content creator Spupcake, aka Serena Torres. How are you doing today, Serena?
Hi, what's up? It's so good to speak with you today. I love this topic. I used to be in a sorority. I went to school. I did all that shebang, bang, everything. So I'm excited to jump in.
Yes, finally on the podcast.
I
So happy to hear.
know.
Okay, so the terms fraternity and sorority come from the Latin words frater and soror, meaning brother and sister, respectively. The names of North American fraternities and sororities consist of 2 to 4 Greek letters, many times abbreviating a Greek motto. The first fraternity was founded in 1776, and the first sorority was founded in 1851. Most fraternities were founded on dedication to principles such as community service, academic achievement, and leadership qualities. How did you first learn about fraternities and sororities?
Well, my mom and my dad, they actually met in a sorority, but they met in a Latina sorority in New Jersey. In their schools, they're both from two different schools, and that's how they met. So coming into school, I was like, you know what, I want to join a sorority. Like that's how my parents met. Like they gained like great experiences, like great connections. So I was like, you know, why don't I just join one? So I remember my freshman year, like I chatted with some of the girls like before even going into the full process. Like there's like such thing as like you're not supposed to talk to them after a certain time. There's all these rules and regulations, but I just talked to them on a regular basis. Like I had classes with them, like the sorority sisters I decided to join with. So like that's how I got really recognized. And I was like, you know what? These girls seem nice. So and my parents were in it. They had a good experience. So like why don't I just do it?
Wow, that's so cool. I didn't know that your parents were both in it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
The process of joining a fraternity or sorority commonly begins with rushing or recruitment. The term rush refers to the historical practice where students would hurry to join fraternities at the beginning of the school year, in a large part to find housing. Rush is usually followed by pledging or committing. The Alabama Pan-Hellenic Association has 19 active sororities who will participate in formal fall recruitment. The number of potential new members, or PNMs, registered for recruitment typically ranges from 2,500 to 3,000, which usually gives Alabama the largest pledge class in the country each year. More than 2,500 women participated in Alabama Sorority Rush in 2021, with 2,307 women receiving bids. Last year, approximately 2,583 women registered for the formal fall recruitment. The University of Alabama has close to 40,000 students, while Hofstra University has about 11,000. So it's a much different experience. Also, Greek life is much more popular in the South than up here in the North. As a disclaimer, Serena joined a sorority during her time at Hofstra, but we won't say the name. And I wanted to ask you, do you remember your rush process and what made you ultimately decide to leave?
Weekend, it was 2 weekends of a rush process for me at least. And this was right before the pandemic started. So the first weekend I recorded, I put it on YouTube, but we just talked to all of them in different parts of the student center in like different rooms. They had just decorations. It was just very casual talk. And then yeah, the next day too was casual talk. That was like weekend one. And then weekend two, there was pref, which is a more intimate ceremony. It's not a ceremony, but they bring you in, they talk to you like a little bit more deeper on a different level. They show you like what their philanthropy is and such. Like that was like the second weekend, and then you get your bid day and everything. Um, so bid day happened. No, so like honestly, like I'm trying to really think about my process because I kind of knew already who I wanted to be with because I was already friends with people in my classes. And there was a period of time where we couldn't talk to them just like for the sake of Panhellenic, or I'm like butchering that name definitely.
The National Pan-Hellenic
Panhellenic, yeah.
Council, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Panhellenic would, you know, cover everything. There was like also like girls that were in a sorority, but they decided to disassociate from the sorority and help guide you, like, to bring you around. So like there were some people who like they lost their letters and they were just like guides to make sure you're like in the right room and stuff. So it was very organized. It almost felt like an experience. You know, like you go to this class, you go to that class. Like I guess you could say classic. That's what it kind of felt like. Like, you know, like when you get your schedule when you're in like middle school and you have to go to like this class at this time and that's what it really felt like. But it wasn't class, you're just talking to people, but it was honestly tiring. Like I lost my voice because you just talk so much.
Wow. Yeah.
And then they also, when you would talk to certain people that would pair you with certain people that you had like similar interests with, so that you would have good conversation. So and like gain connection and stuff like that. Like they would line us up and make sure we had like our names. Like it's pretty much all of it is planned. It's all very strategic, but it's very just, you know, just talking to people. It's not anything crazy, but talking to people. It's strategic in the way where they want to make sure that, let's say like you fill out a form like when you first rush and you say like your hobbies and stuff like that. If you write down that you're like interested in soccer, like ended up talking to someone that used to play soccer, so we connected on that. So pretty much all sororities would go through like our like application form and like see who we are, see our interests and all that, and they would try to like relate with us. And the most compatible like relation that you had to whatever group, that's the sorority you ended up being in.
Like what made you want to leave?
But I didn't like the area I was living in. The girls that I was living with, they were super sweet, super nice, but everyone grows up different. And I didn't understand, like I learned that. And which is fine, but I have my boundaries. I realized that like I'm an individual. Like the sorority, I loved it. It was great. And a lot of the people that I loved graduated. It was changing. Like people were in person now. Like people that got in, they got in through Zoom. Like I remember my sophomore year, we had our Rush Pledge class through Zoom. And it's like, how are you gonna meet someone on the internet? Like I know you personally, but it's just like, how can I truly know someone over the internet?
Right.
And there was a lot of people that I didn't know, and which was fine. Everyone has their cup of teas, and I have no remorse, nothing. It was just honestly like it wasn't a fit for me. Like the lifestyle, there's a certain lifestyle that you need to obtain to be in a sorority, and that lifestyle was not matching with mine. The purpose of the sorority and the fraternity, I never understood what the purpose was. Okay, yeah, philanthropy, but there'd be philanthropy events where we have to pay money to go to, when it's like, don't we pay for fees? Like what's the point of paying fees?
Which are not cheap.
No, they're not cheap.
I remember my senior year, I knew this girl, she's a former classmate of mine, and it was like finals week or something like that. And I passed by her in the hallway and she was carrying her big Greek letter signs. And I was like, hey, I haven't seen you in so long. How are you? And she was like, hey, I'm good. I'm good. No, she was like, hey, I'm super stressed. And I was like, yeah, because of finals, right? Like, I'm nervous. And she was like, no, because it's, she's like, no, I'm stressed because it's, what's the word? It's rush week. Or
Oh, Greek.
It's Greek week. And I'm like, oh, okay, good luck. And she's like running like, thanks, bye. And in my head, I'm like, that's why you're stressed? Not because of your finals, but because of littles and bigs and events like that. That should not be your concern. And now we can't forget hazing. Hazing is any activity expected of someone joining or participating in a group that humiliates, degrades, abuses, or endangers them, regardless of a person's willingness to participate. According to a March 2023 article from the Michigan Daily by writer Claudia Flynn, she reported that 73% of students in social fraternities or sororities have experienced hazing in some form. Fraternity and sorority members underwent hazing to join the organization, so they believe the next generation must too. People claim hazing brings groups of new members closer by making them work with each other and face the hardships of what they're enduring together. As of 2019, there are 44 states in the US that have passed laws prohibiting hazing. Of those, only 10 states have laws that explicitly make hazing a felony when it results in death or serious injury. Louisiana may soon be the 11th state to pass such a law. The remaining 33 states have anti-hazing laws that prohibit hazing, but only allow it to be punishable as a misdemeanor. If you don't mind sharing, were you hazed? And did you hear of horror stories of other women being hazed before or during your process?
There's definitely some stories. Like I said, my process was cut short. Like I went through the pandemic. Like nothing. Like to me, like we didn't do anything. We just had to talk on Zoom for like 1, 2 times to get to know the sisters. I couldn't connect with them. Oh, however, people were like before. Even my big, she's like, it was so different with us.
Like it was probably her process was probably harsher.
I mean, in lack of a better word, her process was just it was different.
Just different.
Like, it was different because
she wasn't meeting on Zoom. Yeah.
No, she was in person. So the rushing process isn't easy because you have to be with people that you've never been with. It's hard to, sometimes understand other people. So that's where it could be difficult, but it was very like to me like they were just my friends. Like nothing happened with me. Like I was fine. The only thing that really was just that sisterhood. I really thought like I have my own sister. So I really thought that being a sister like meant something. And that's why I was saying like, oh, I was picking up other people's hobbies, this and that interest because that's what we connect. Like I was trying to just connect with them. I was trying to be relatable, because I wanted to be a sister. My sister, she has different interests, like, but I love her. I care for her, whatever. So that's just pretty much what I guess the part where I didn't feel good about was really just like, that some of these girls really you buy your friends and they're not the friends that you would expect. It's a culture that I would never be a part of, nor I grew up with.
Yeah.
People grow up with it, people do that, and it's a lifestyle choice. It's nothing but a lifestyle choice.
It's
So
scary. It's scary because I really feel bad for all the parents who have lost their children to hazing because we see stories on the news that like where it goes terribly wrong and the student ends up dying just because they really want friends. They really want to feel included. They really want to join their dream frat or sorority. And people say like, "Oh, why do people still haze?" And then I've heard people say, well, it's because my big or the person that came before me was hazed. It's kind of like hurt people. So I was hazed, so you're gonna get hazed too. And it's like that's how the cycle continues, but it's kind of like I understand tough love, but there's a difference between tough love and abuse. And
yeah,
I think it would be much better if you just had to take an exam like
yeah,
okay, this is the history of the organization, this is the Greek alphabet, whatever else that I'm not thinking of right now, but like there should, I think an exam or some type of test would be reasonable. But like physical abuse and mental games, and I've heard stories where girls have to sit on a washer, and if the fat on their stomach jiggles, then they circle it, and like it's a whole like I've heard terrible things.
I've
So
heard that one too.
why do you need all of that? Why can't you just like take a test? Or why can't you just have some type of friendship bonding experience and then get in?
It's because the bonding is construed. Like people find that going through traumatic events creates bonds. It does though. And like it does work. Like you care for the girls at the end of the day. You care for them in a way that's different. But then it's like then I left and it's like, did you really care? Or did you care because of the label, because of the name? Because yeah, it is. People care because of the name. It's a label. It's the title. Oh, that's what I was gonna write. It's the entitlement. Like they felt very entitled because they were this and they were that. Like, I was in one of the top sororities at the time, and I just never understood that like sense of entitlement. I also never really liked going to class either because people would label me as a sorority girl.
Mm.
Stereotype on me.
No, yeah, being a sorority girl, it has a bad reputation based on what we've seen on the news and movies, how they're portrayed. And even though they were in high school, people think they associate being like a sorority girl with like Regina George from Mean Girls. Like that
Yeah.
type of attitude and the way they treated Lindsay Lohan's character, like that whole thing. Like it's high school, but it's similar to I'm sure it's similar to like the white sororities and all that stuff. So yeah, it has a bad reputation. You don't want to be lumped in with that. Documentary Bama Rush on Max, formerly known as HBO Max, follows 4 young women as they prepare to rush at the University of Alabama in 2022. Against the viral backdrop of hashtag Bama Rush on TikTok and the long-held tradition of sorority recruitment at the University of Alabama, the film explores the emotional complexities and high stakes of belonging in this crucial window into womanhood. What was your initial reaction during or after you watched this documentary? Could you relate?
I could relate, like the photoshopping part, like I definitely did relate because I saw that and I was like, I was never about that. Like I literally said like what he like, I comment on it and it's just like opinions not being taken into account, like some things aren't healthy. Like I care about myself, I care about my body, and like I would say things that would just be like out of just taking care of myself and other people around me, and it would just be too much. Like it would just be too much, like opinions. Like I guess we all had to have like the same opinion, and if you had opinion, kind of like, even if it wasn't a good thing, like keep it to yourself.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. It's a lot of followers and not a lot of leaders. And the rushing process is probably so much more intense in the South than up here in New York. It's probably way more intense.
Yeah, it is. It is
Like when
very.
you were watching it, were you like, oh my God, like this is a lot.
When I was watching it, like it was a lot because I saw this one girl. She had like a coaching, like a coach.
The
To
black girl Michaela.
Yeah, I was like, but it's crazy because I'm not kidding. Like a lot of these girls, like they don't know how to talk to other people. Like they were normalizing so much about um just like eating disorders, like in the documentary.
Yes. Yes. They spoke a lot about that.
Yeah, and I am blessed. I am blessed by God. I always had a healthy relationship with food. And like I have to say, like, that is a part of the culture too. Like not taking care of yourself, like not prioritize eating at certain times and stuff, like prioritizing going out over yourself. And there was times where I'm like, oh my God, like I should do this, I should go out, I should do that. And I would not take care of myself. I would forget to take care of myself and be like, I was sick all the time because I just wanted to fit in and hang out. But that's because everyone wanted to fit in, everyone wanted to hang out, and no one was taking care of themselves. And I was like, this is just like unhealthy. It was unhealthy environment for me. Um, Pretty sure it is just an unhealthy environment when you're around people who don't have healthy habits. You're gonna pick up those unhealthy habits.
Yeah, like people taking pills to lose weight. Ozempic is like a big thing right now. And now that I think about it, Michaela would have been a good person to add to this conversation. The girl from the documentary, because it's one thing to join a sorority, but then it's a whole nother thing to be a person of color and join a sorority. That's a whole different experience. And like her having to like her coach was like, no, wear this and wear your hair this way, and
Yeah, and
it
my
was like
hair.
a whole thing. And I feel like you guys would probably be good friends because she said a lot of things that you're saying now. Like, I'm not really interested in all this. And like, she looked very uncomfortable the whole process. And I don't blame her.
It's
Yeah.
just like, you go to college, you try to figure out who you are. Like I've always just liked to dress up. I've always dressed how I wanted to, but it's also too like I couldn't like I was still trying to figure myself out, and then this was like forcing me to like still look like everyone else. And I was like, I'm an individual. Like,
some of the feedback from the viewers online is that the documentary did not dive deep enough into the secret societies like The Machine and spent too much time on the director's personal struggles, such as her hiding her alopecia and by wearing a wig from childhood up until college. Allegedly, The Machine is a secret society at the University of Alabama that controls many facets of life within the university and beyond, such as local governments in Alabama. The machine is also called Theta Nu Epsilon, which was created in the early 1900s. They decide on who the student president will be, the honor society members, and the homecoming royalty. Within the University of Alabama, they have various fraternity chapters that are part of the machine and that have secret members that get together at a location to decide who the winners of various student political organizations will be. Then they take those decisions back to their fraternities, and then everyone votes for someone. It's essentially a rigged election, allegedly. Also, they are rumored to use very scary tactics to secure a candidate, which can include harassment, breaking and entering, arson, wiretapping, and assault. TikToker and podcast host Emily Rose did a 15-part series on her page detailing the Alabama Rush process and the machine. Do you agree with some of the feedback? And do you think there is a machine at every college and university?
me, I've never heard of the machine, if I'm being quite honest, till I saw the documentary, but like that was a sorority on a bigger scale. And the machine, I don't know. It's like the machine was just like a life and death thing. Honestly, I just think like these kids are bored. Like they just have like they just got like I don't know what issues people have in life, but like I feel like it's just like first world issues. Like
Yeah, there's bigger things to worry about than inflicting trauma on your fellow college students. And you shouldn't do that. There's a better way to make friends. And the fact that the machine like controls things in school, but then it's also tied to like allegedly tied to the Alabama like local government, and like it's political too. Like that's very it's like wow, like you're obsessed.
is like there's bigger problems going on. There's no need for the drama. Like we could all just socialize and just be civil and be nice. But people like to have entitlement and seniority over others because of money.
And I think because college is very like you're on your own. Your parent, you're not, it's not like high school where it's like you have to go home every day to your parents. You're on your own. A lot of people, some people live near, but a lot of people don't live near Long Island or wherever, what school you go to. They don't live near. You're by yourself, you're independent. So you can kind of get it. And like college is very like it's independent. Um, there's no one telling you, Serena, you need to do your homework. Cervantes, you need to study and get an internship so you can get a good career. Like no one's really on your back. That's you and maybe your parents. So these kids, these students can kind of get away with a lot of stuff because no one's really around to stop them. And yes, there's laws put in place to like, there's some laws in some states put in place to stop hazing and keep things right. It's kind of like, and universities in the north are much more strict and have like no tolerance for hazing, more so than the south. They're a little bit more lenient. But the students can get away with more stuff, and they can inflict trauma easier, better, because they're not with their parents. People who don't know or who don't care about Greek life may say, why does he or she care so much about getting into a fraternity or sorority? Or people who join Greek life are just lonely and they're paying for friendship. You kind of said this already, but what would your response be? Do you think college students in their freshman year are just looking to be accepted and are looking for friendship?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Like why I joined. I was like, you know what? Like I was already making friends, but I wanted to just make more because why not? Like that was the whole point of college, is to connect and to make friends and hopefully work with them. So that's why I joined the sorority, because like it's not that I didn't have friends though. That was the thing. Like I didn't join not having friends. If you're joining because you have no friends, you're joining for the wrong reasons. Because
Like if you want friends, sorry to interrupt,
yeah,
but
go
if you
ahead.
want friends, I feel like that's why you dorm. like for me, when I like there was a big difference, like my first college when I commuted versus my second college where I actually dormed. I'm same way. I'm very social. It's easy for me to make friends. So my first college, even though I commuted, because I was part of a sports team and because I'm just social, it was still easy for me to make friends. But I know that when I dormed, I made a lot of friends more quickly because we were all, one place. So I
Yeah.
think if you want friends and you're a freshman, and this is great for people who are going to school in a couple months, to college in a couple months. If you want to make friends, dorm. If you can, dorm. That's a great way. But if you're joining a fraternity or sorority, it's kind of like don't join that because you need friends. Like do join a club, join Black Student Union, join a Latino organization, join an
Yeah.
Asian, whatever you identify as. Try to find a club that matches your identity or your culture, and then you'll probably make the best friends ever, like in
Yeah.
those clubs. Fraternities and sororities, I feel like things get kind of messy. And as we're recording this, it's June.
Mhm.
People start moving into college in their dorms in like August. So what advice would you give to people starting college in a couple months and are interested in joining a fraternity or sorority?
I think definitely before joining, understand your motives. I think a sisterhood is great when you have people uplifting you. I definitely had a great experience, but it was just, I need to move on to my next chapter. But make sure before you're joining, be yourself. Do not change for no one. If you have to change in order to be liked, you're not in the right place.
Right. And what advice would you give to people who recently dropped their sorority?
Um, I don't even think they need, like, the people who just drop, they don't even need advice. They dropped for their reasons because they know it was just like, if you want a click, you got one. That's really what it was. You don't need a click to do anything. All you need is you yourself to do whatever you want. You're the one that makes choices in your life. If you think you need a posse, by all means. But like the people who dropped or whatever, they're chilling. Like they're doing their own thing. Like it's just like either you have time for it or you don't. And people who drop, they just don't have time for it. Time, money, and where it's going.
Join an organization that you don't have to pay for. Join a sports team, join a club, try to make friends with your roommates, try to make friends with your classmates, or just, be solo dolo, focus on you, study, do your homework, and, just try to graduate. Now we're going to move on to some TCP rapid fire questions. You don't have to answer them quickly. I just call them that. But the first question is, what makes you laugh the most?
Me, what makes me laugh? My boyfriend. It's cheesy, but like he's just funny.
Okay, nice. Three things you're grateful for.
Um, my family, my dog, and um a roof over my head.
Nice. What would you tell your younger self?
To never stop believing and to keep dreaming.
I like that. And
Yeah.
where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I see myself in my career and doing whatever makes me happy and helping my loved ones.
That's good. And what would you name this current chapter of your life?
Oh, hashtag Manhattan girly.
Serena has been one of my biggest supporters, and I've been wanting to have her on the podcast for a year, I think now, year and a half now. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. I'm so happy that I was able to be here for you and answer these questions, provide advice for people who need guidance, need help. Like, I appreciate your time. And yeah, Cervantes, he's hashtag bestie.
Where can everyone follow you?
Oh, follow me on IG and TikTok at Spupcake, YouTube at Spupcake, Spupcake, Spupcake. That's me. My name's Serena, but
That's
Spupcake,
your brand.
that's my name. Yeah, brand. Yeah, Spupcake.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And Bama Rush, directed by Rachel Fleet, is available now to stream on Max. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So if you're listening to this episode right now on a podcast platform, be sure to leave a rating on Anchor, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you click the notification button up top so you're notified whenever I upload a new episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a good one.